Wow, so the 2023 Q4 earnings report was released and the stock absolutely tanked. And if you're wondering why, I mean, there was a lot of positives in that earnings report. I'm going to point out some things and some negative points that I think could have affected the stock. Sure, it could always be the big MMs and money managers and hedge funds wanting to get a better deal, but I think there's more to it. I think there's a reason why the stock dropped, and while I love Rocket Lab, there are some things I want to take a look at a little bit more closely. So let's go ahead and review some things that I think we need to be paying attention to. First off, let's start off with some good news. 2022, they did 9 rocket launches. In 2023, they did 1 more. They did 10. And for this year, they're really stepping it up, folks. They're gonna more than double it. They wanna do well over 20 launches. So, you know, when you go from 9 launches and 10 launches, and then you like do this quantum leap to 20 or more, that's a big deal, and that's what's planned for this year. So I'm really excited to see that big ramp up in launches. So kudos to Rocket Lab, because that is going to be quite impressive. I mean, they've already got 1 launched, you know, they already got a couple, and there's a couple more coming in March, so they are well on their way. Not only that, we are finally going to Mars. We're going to be Elon Musk and SpaceX at this, okay? No, not really, but we're going to Mars with the Escapade mission. It's not quite the same as with a big ship or anything, or transporting a colony of people, but hey, it's a start, right? So I love the Escapade mission to Mars, and that's going to be kicking off in Q3 of this year, so we better pay attention to that. So another thing to be super excited about is the fact that soon Rocket Lab will be using not 1, but all 9 Rutherford engines to power the Electron rocket up into space. So this is going to be a huge feat as far as reusability is concerned. And if they can show that all 9 of those rockets are viable and that an anomaly doesn't occur during launch, then this could be, you know, really, really good news, because this is going to help improve cost savings and just definitely help increase the gross margins overall. And it's interesting because I mentioned in a past video about how they have the photon, right? So they are going to have a photon that they're going to utilize with neutron, only it's not called photon. So I was happy that during this earnings call they actually went into the different satellite buses that they currently offer. And, you know, previously they were just slapping the word photon on everything, and now they actually have a different system class with naming for each satellite bus. And I like that they decided to do that, because it shows that there is more to offer than just 1 satellite bus. Now let's get into the numbers aspect of it. As far as their revenues go, their revenues increased by 15.9% year over year, which always happy to see an increase in revenue. But another positive point is that their revenue backlog is now over $1 billion. I love hearing no, I better be careful how I word this, but I like seeing how the revenue is well over $1 billion. So that is a really positive thing to see. But here's the thing, okay? And this could be part of the reason why the stock dropped. While the revenue backlog is over $1 billion, keep in mind, in fine print, that only about 41% of that overall revenue backlog is going to be realized within 12 months. Because the majority of that revenue backlog came from that contract that they were awarded to do the 18 satellites. And I don't know if you recall, but that special SDA contract, well, they plan to use Neutron for that possibly. So Neutron isn't ready yet, is it? So, you know, that's not going to occur for a tad while over 12 months for sure. So we're not really, I don't want to specifically use the word that, you know, they have $1 billion revenue backlog this year. It's not this year, it's just overall. So keep that in mind. That's an overall backlog, okay? It's not per quarter or per year. That's just an overall backlog, and it's not all going to be, you know, all that cash isn't going to be realized this 12 months. So keep that in mind. Another thing that might have been a negative impact is that their operating expenses have increased. Now, obviously, we know a lot of the reasons are, you know, stock compensation, and as well as, you know, neutron development, you know, R&D on the solar panels that they do. So, you know, they're always improving. They're always looking for ways to advance themselves beyond the competitors. And so that does involve spending, mostly, you know, a lot of neutron spending. So a lot of R&D there, which is to be expected. But yeah, you know, the operating expenses have increased. So that's not exactly a positive, but, you know, it's to be expected with what we know they're trying to achieve. And a little bit more bad news, their operating expenses are expected to increase next quarter earnings. So right now their expenses, I believe, were about $63.4 million. And now we're looking to have it increase all the way as much as $75 million in that one quarter. So, you know, again, neutron development, things happening. They didn't mention anything about, you know, a merger and acquisition in place or in the works. It is a possibility, and they are looking, you know, in regards to payload. So I know they're thinking in regards to their future. I have no idea what company they're going to choose in the end as far as a merger and acquisition, and they didn't really hint at it. So we're going to have to wait longer on that. But they did achieve a lot. I mean, I honestly don't know how they packed it all into the one earnings call, because there was so many accomplishments that they have done, you know, from Q3 to Q4 of 2023. It's just, it's crazy how much they've done. So it's not all negative, okay? But I want to be realistic with you. This is going to be a while, I think, before we see some major catalysts. Like, as far as what I'm talking about, Rocket Lab's main overall goal isn't just to send up rockets, and it's not just their space systems division, which that's bringing in huge amounts of revenue. Their overall goal is to have like software as a service of some kind, like how SpaceX has their Starlink. They want to have something along those lines. They will not say what it is they're doing or what they have in mind, which I think is smart. You got to keep your cards close to your chest. You don't want anyone else swooping in, taking your idea. And it just boggles my mind, you know, when these people on the call, and, you know, when they do the Q&A portion on the call, and they're like, hey, can you tell us more about what your secret plans are? No, of course they're not going to tell you what they're doing. Come on. That's like, I mean, why would they want to say anything now when, you know, Neutron isn't even fully built or anything, let alone, you know, having their own constellation up yet? No, they're not going to spill the beans. Come on. Can you ask a question that's more, you know, I know you want to tug at Peter Beck's heartstrings and beg for more information, but come on, people. I mean, it's not going to work. They're not going to divulge, you know, their master plan. And if they did, that would be the dumbest decision they could make as a company. But I do think that Rocket Lab has a lot planned. I have no idea what they could be doing. Do they want to compete with Starlink and do a satellite internet service? I don't know. Or could it be something else? Who knows? But the thing is, they definitely have something up their sleeve. I think they have an ace up their sleeve. But the sad thing is, it's not going to be for a while. It could, it could be like 3 to 5 years. Think about it. First, they have to build Neutron. Then they have to use Neutron to fly the customers' backlog that they have already, like those 18 satellites that they're building for that contract they were awarded, okay? And what about other mega constellations that they might be, signed on to as far as customers? So, they did mention something like they would like Neutron to fly 3 times, I think, in 2025. If it's only 3 times, that's just 3 times. They would still, that has to include the customers. Then think about it. Then they need to fly their own constellation up and build their own constellation of satellites. This is going to take time, right? And then after they get the satellites up there, they have to have their product. And how long is it going to take to get that product, service ready to the public? This is what I'm saying. So could that be, one of the reasons why the stock dropped a little bit? I mean, let's bring things down to earth. Rocket Lab is going to be big, but it might take some time before that happens, It could take 2 years, it could take 5 years, but it's gonna take more than a year. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And you have to be prepared to just sit on your hands and hold for the long term and just take your Rocket Lab shares, shove them in the closet, close the door, don't look at the ups and downs, and just close your eyes and wake up in 5 years and see how you're doing, okay? Because, this is not overnight riches, people, realistically. But this company, it's going to be big. And I do think, as I mentioned before, it's going to have AI involved. Now, let me correct myself when I mean AI. I'm not saying they're starting a chat GPT. Be realistic. I'm saying AI that has to do with their business model. Just like other companies use AI to leverage their business models, I'm sure Rocket Lab is going to use some form of AI to analyze things, whether that's satellite imagery or whether, it's user data. They're going to be incorporating AI. Come on, who isn't? Who isn't these days? But, they're going to have to if they want to stay in the market and have a competitive edge. Because I can almost think that their competitors are probably going to be utilizing some form of AI and analytics. But overall, I would say my guess on why the stock kind of dropped was obviously increased operating expenses due to, Neutron and other developments going on. And also the timeline of Neutron, the timeline of their own product that they want to roll out, and the fact that they can't give any information on what their end goal is. And there's a reason for that. Like I said, they can't give it away, folks. They'll be ruining the whole ace up their sleeve. So, again, this stock, sure, it could gain, but I don't think you're going to see explosive growth until they get their product going, and that could be anywhere from, who knows, 2 to 5 years. So that's my take. And as always, until next time, invest long and prosper.